Komori Matsudoki Ever Match! Are you ready? Battle Engine!
Hello YouTube, this is Shirley426, and today we have a SHF Figuarts review. This is the SHF Kamen Rider Mad Rogue from Kamen Rider Build. Now, this rider design, or the character, the user who was named Utsumi, I was never a big fan of him. Of course, I did kind of feel sorry for him, because overall in the entire series, he goes through a lot of stuff, basically. But still, the moment he got access to this rider form, he became a little bit crazy. So that's when I started not liking him. But putting that aside, I was really impressed with the design of the rider. So once again, as I mentioned, this is a P-Bandai exclusive figure art, or SHF figure, so meaning that it's a limited edition, so just keep that in mind. And yeah, so let's get on to our review right away. So we're going to go with our typical components. So first of all, what you get, of course, is obviously Kamen Rider Mad Rogue himself. In belt-wise, you get the Evil Driver, and then on the Evil Driver, we have two bottles, which is the Komori and Hatsudoki, meaning that it's the Bat bottle and then the Engine bottle. And for those who are wondering, that's how the box looks like. For the figure. I believe regular retail versions would have like a clear place where you can see the inside, while these P-Bandai versions don't have that. Alright, and hand-wise, what I have on the hand at the moment are two fist hands, your typical fist hands right out of the box. And here we have what we're supposed to get. So we get 3 more sets of hands, and then we get the Nebula steam gun, and then the steam blade. So let's go with them one by one though. So first of all, number one, the first set of hands are these kind of a like claw. Well, all of these hands are claw hands, and this one is mostly meant for posing. I mean, it's mentioned in the manual, but not really mentioned when to use it. So once again, mostly for posing, no big deal. And then, believe it or not, these fingers that has the pointy fingers are actually the weapon holding fingers. For basically, this is the trigger finger. So yeah, the trigger finger seems to be a little bit too on the far outside, but okay, I can live with that. Yes, and not only you can hold the steam gun, the Nebula steam gun with this, you can also hold the steam. You're supposed to hold the steam blade with this hand as well, which I will demonstrate later. And then finally, we have fully open hands, for once again meant for posing. And then finally, here we have its main weapon. So here we have the. Come on, let me just move the camera a bit. So here we have the Nebula steam gun. I do actually prefer this design over the Trans steam gun. And I'm not sure if it's visible in camera, but if you actually put a light behind this, I'm not sure if this would work, but let's give it a try. It's not fully clear, but it's actually a little bit on the. It uses slightly on the clear plastic on the purple section. So if you actually have a very powerful light behind this, you can actually see the light go through the plastic as well. And then here we have the hole where you can attach the bottles. Problem is, I actually tested this with the Komori and Hatsudoki bottles. The hole here, it seems to be a little bit on the larger side, so they don't actually plug in that well, or they don't actually plug in, they're just loose. So I'm not sure if it's just a defective on mine, but oh well. Not that I was too picky on these, because I believe in the series he doesn't actually, Mad Rogue doesn't actually put bottles on this as well. Of course, there was a different character that does this, but yeah, you get my point. And then here we have the steam blade. While this may look like a silly weapon, in the series this is actually used very well and often by the enemies. So we actually have a turning point here. And then for those who don't know, this is the blade. This thing can also make some sort of like steam or smoke type of like various smokes, like steam, fire, like electricity and ice. And I believe they don't use all of those in the series, but yeah, those who do use these abilities do it very well. And for those who are wondering, yes, you can actually divide these and then attach these to the Nebula steam gun to make the Nebula steam rifle. Yeah, of course, for those who are wondering, the color doesn't really match. That's because this came out very late in the series. Well, in the early series, there's also another gun that looks like this with a different color scheme and slightly different design called the Trans Steam Gun. That was actually the same color scheme as these weapons, so which is why it may look a little bit odd to those. Okay, so we've seen the basics. Now let's go through articulation. So let me just get this out of the stand. Now before I go on to articulation, actually, I'm pretty sure some of you guys might have seen the belt being a little bit on the wobbly side. Now, usually this shouldn't be the case, but for this figure in particular, for those who don't know, there's also another SHF figure that's retail version, which was called Kamen Rider, I think it was Night Rogue. What they did was that they used that same Night Rogue figure. I'll put a picture right over here, and then they used that as a base form, and then they just used the exact same belt that was used by Build or /Evolt, which I believe should be the same size for those two. But so they just literally just slapped the same belt here, the strap, even the strap. They didn't change the length of the strap onto this figure, which is why it's on the kind of on the wobbly side. Of course, there's various ways to fix this, so yeah, you just need your imagination. Okay, so let's go on to the review. So design-wise, actually, I really like the design. Not that I'm a big fan of like bat or /vampire characters. I'm just impressed like how well the design was done. So here we have the head. The head looks extremely well done. I don't see any paint mistakes right over any place. Of course, the eyes are not clear pieces. They are actually just painted on as far as I can tell. And then they got the red line okay. And then on the back side, we have all these nice details going on. So the head articulation can go down that much, up that much. I think this one has a little bit long. The neck might look a little bit on the long side, but who knows. And then and 360 is possible, but once again, I cannot. I will mention this every time. This is not a robot. Well, technically, he's a cyborg at this point, but still, these riders are usually humans inside. So going 360 on the neck shouldn't be the case on most cases. Okay, and then the arms can go, oh, that did not sound good, but 360 on, as you just saw, when you're rotating, just be careful that you don't collide with the other stuff, because there's a lot of stuff going on here. And so 360 on the entire arm is possible. Going to the side, 90 degrees is not possible because the armor parts are colliding. But yeah, if you work your way around, you can technically go 90 degrees. And then we have your typical 360 twist on the arm, and then only about a 90-degree bend on the arms, because once again I think it's mostly because of the design of the armors, because they're just colliding with each other. And I really like how they did with the colors here, because while it's a combination of white and now I'm not sure if this should be considered more of a purple or more of a blue color, but still it's done very well. Of course on camera now that I mention it, on camera it looks more blue, but in reality it's more of a purple color, so just keep that in mind. Let's get the back. The back, definitely, I really like the back design, especially this round section right over here. And then we have all these white screws going on. Definitely love that design. Once again, this design is actually from Night Rogue, so yeah. Okay, so and then the hands are your typical SHF Figuarts hand, where what I mean by SHF Figuarts hand is that the ball joint is on the arm, not on the hand like how a Gunpla would be. So yeah. Okay, so now let's look at the body. The body is actually done very well as well. So we have a very nice ab crunch. Actually, that's way more than I thought. And then going backwise, not so much. So we do have a nice ab crunch that goes front, but back, not so much. And as I mentioned, the belt is on the wobbly side because once again they just kind of reused what they had previously instead of making a whole new mold. Now the leg articulation, while it's not the best, it's just okay because the way how they designed this, you can see there's a curve here, right over here. So which means that this actually hinders the fact that the legs cannot go to the side that much. Of course, well, there's always like other ways you can work this out, but yeah, that's just one. Well, I'm not sure if it's a design flaw, but it's just like a design thing rather than a functional thing. So the legs can go about 90 degrees to the front, and then back, not so much, I think. Yeah, I'm doing all my best to do this, but yeah. And then just going to the side, well, if you actually pull down the legs a little bit, this actually does give you a gap, so you can go to the side a little bit, but less than 90 degrees. Backwise, not so much. And then we have a nice double jointed bend. I think you can go a little bit more, but yeah, once again, either way, it's just on the stiff side on mine. And then we have a nice actual pivot. on the feet, and then I believe we have a toe bend right over here as well. That goes up, not down. And that was pretty much it for the basic articulation. Once again, I really like the design of this rider as well. Despite being a, well, technically he was at first evil, but later he became, you know, an ally for a short time. Okay, so we've seen the basic articulation. I say that's pretty much, this has the basics of all any typical SHF of these days, so I say that's pretty good. Now I'll be right back with how the weapons work, so I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back with the first set of equipment. So basically I gave Mad Rogue each, on the left arm and the right arm, each its trigger finger / weapon holding hands, and on the right hand I gave him the Nebula steam gun, and then I gave him, on the left hand, I gave him the steam blade. So, yeah, most of the time, Mad Rogue would be using these individually, and then only, like, in certain cases he would use it in the rifle form, and every time he would use these weapons, he would always be fighting like as if he's really lost his mind. Like he would laugh and then like shake all over the place, shoot all over the place, and yeah. So I tried to go with that pose, and I think I did okay for the first start. So holding the gun is okay. I mean, yeah, of course, the thing that always bugged me about the Nebula Steam gun or the Trans Steam gun is that on one side it's like this design, and on the other side it's more of a blank design. So yeah, that kind of bogs me. So sometimes I see, like in pictures, people usually hold this on the other hand, so it looks better. But at the same time, this weapon only makes sense if you use it on the right hand, because you have this place where you have to insert the bottle. But if you're holding it on the other hand, it's really hard. It's kind of tricky to do that. And also, I found another flaw on the gun is that you can see the part where you're supposed to plug in the bottle. It's not exactly vertical straight. It's slightly angled. So yeah, maybe that's why I was able to get this a little bit cheaper, like a bit cheap on Mandarik. So yeah, I should mention that I did get this on Mandarik. Granted, it was a unopened product, but still. And now the tricky part is the steam blade. Now, even on the manual, they tell you to hold it like this, but I have seen people hold with this figure hold it the other way around, and most of the time in the series, he would also, I believe, most of the time hold it like this. While it's not impossible, but yeah, the overall grip for this with this hand for this weapon, it just doesn't feel natural, unlike the gun. So yeah. Well, I do like to mention that it is still possible to hold the steam blade on the other hand, or upside down. So yeah. Okay, so I'll be right back with how to do the Nebula steam rifle. I have showed you guys how it works, so I'll be right back with the more proper pose for that thing. Okay, I'm back. Here we have the Nebula steam rifle in the typical the two hand pose for the rifle. Yeah, I mean, it works pretty okay. Of course, I tried all sorts of things to make it look more natural for the firing pose, because when you think about it, if you're holding a rifle, you also need to aim. So usually for a normal human, you'd be holding the rifle a little bit more higher, but I could not get this up even higher enough. I mean, technically, I could waddle it around. Of course, keep in mind we have the back stock, which actually does get in the way in multiple forms. So yeah. But yeah, I do really like how this rifle works. Unlike like typical like power-up riders in like past series, they would usually have a big giant gun. But in this case, you can have it either in a small gun in a blade form, but at the same time, you can also make it into a rifle form. And I really like the way how this weapon works in the series. Usually, when it was used by the Trans Steam gun users, they would actually like give this a spin and then flip this up and then pull another switch to fire a powerful shot. And yeah, I kind of miss that. I just don't understand, like later in the series they stopped doing that more often, but still, I really like how this thing works in general. Of course, in this case, this character would actually, instead of putting a bottle, he would spin the handle of the elbow driver and then, you know, fire a powerful shot. And that's pretty much it for the review. I mean, while this is one of those kind of non-popular riders, or because of the character, but figure-wise, it's a very good figure. I mean, I really love the design, I really like the looks, and yeah, it is a solid figure. The only issue you would have would be the belt driver being a little bit on the loose side like this, and then I hope it's just mine for the Nebula Steam gun where the bottles don't actually fit. But yeah, it has a lot of play value, and you can do so much stuff with these kind of figures. Anyway, this was pretty much the review of the Premium Bandai exclusive SHF Figuarts or s.h.figuarts Kamen Rider Mad Rogue. If you guys got any questions or requests, even comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews out, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time.